Okay, I'm gonna move swiftly on. I don't know about you guys, but oh my God, how inspiring has today been so far? Hasn't it been absolutely incredible? I mean, just brilliant. So, hats off to Alessandra and to Jamie Lee. Ella, come on up, you come. So yes, we're here to talk about the power of DEI in harnessing and attracting the next generation, something that's really, really close to my heart. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Steiner. I am an HR and talent professional. And the HR side of me is what pays my bills. So it's a necessary evil, as a lot of people often think HR is anyway. But talent is really what feeds my soul. And the bringing on of new talent, be it fresh young talent or talent from elsewhere, to attract them to this amazing sector that we work in. So I'm just going to give you a couple of figures, right? So pre-pandemic, BC, as we like to call it, before COVID, we already knew that we were going to have, by 2030, a 40 million jobs shortfall in terms of people in our sector globally. So we already knew that there was a war for talent. And I'm telling you, we've lost that war. The fight's not over, but we have already lost that war. And then here we are, AD, after distancing. And we're here with a 62 million loss of people out of our sector. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? So I just want to ask one quick question. Who here thinks our sector, and I mean hospitality, tourism, aviation, has got an image problem when it comes to attracting the next generation? And who here thinks this is the best industry to work in? So why is there this disconnect? It's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous. So what we're going to try and do today with my amazing panel, who I'll introduce in a sec, are we going to sort of consider why people would want to work in our sector, what they're looking for as they leave their education or their early and come into their first job, how we've heard a lot about it, so I don't want to repeat too much, but this whole focus around employer attraction, employer branding, what makes you the place that people want to come to. And how can we build our reputation back as an industry, one that was decimated over the last 2 years? And we've heard people talking about how difficult some people are finding it to sort of trust coming back into the sector until they feel that it's a safer place to work again, in terms of just being, commercially viable, if you want, for better things. So what can we do to harness the whole sort of DEI notice? And again, we've heard a lot about it. One of my other jobs I do is I'm a board director of the ITT, the Institute of Travel and Tourism, and have been for many years. I am now one of those old school people that I just thought I'd never be. I just sort of changed the quotes. I think I'm like pale male and pale female and stale. I hope I'm not. And actually, if Patrice is still here, reverse mentoring works. I surround myself by these wonderful young people all the time, and goodness, I learn so much from them. And a lot of them are in the room today, and I'm looking at you, Shalini. So the mission of the ITT has always been to raise professional standards, but I work with an amazing group of volunteers who form our Education and Training Committee. And about 13 years ago, we formed ITT Future U. And the whole premise around Future U was to get out to education and to actually go and bring industry to them and say, look at us, we're great. Now, we're kind of slightly still preaching to the converted when it comes to university students, because a lot of them already chosen to do hospitality and tourism. But, we forget that we're a business as well. And one of my biggest frustrations when I go into colleges and schools, colleges and universities, say, name me a job in tourism. And I get the same 4 answers. Travel agent, tour rep, cabin crew, concierge. And just once, I want someone to say CEO, marketing director, HR manager. I just want them to understand this wider scope. So this is what we're doing with Future U. And we're bringing particularly younger people, younger professionals into that. And I'm really proud. We've been going for 13 years. And in that time, we've actually got in front of 22,000 students in the UK. So thank you. Really proud. And actually, so much so that with the current crisis, we actually launched 2 weeks ago the Future U Foundation. And the idea behind that is to bring industry together collaboratively. We have to be collaborative when we're attracting talent. Let's get them into our sector. Let's get them in, and then we can fight over them. But let's just get them in first. So if anyone wants to talk to me about that, we'd love to talk to you about that. But this is really an opportunity for us to develop Future You First. It's run by volunteers. We all do it on our own time. But to actually give opportunity to young people. We already have an apprentice starting with us. It's been sponsored by someone in industry. We want to get a couple of graduates in to help us grow this program and to really help attract that talent. So we're at a critical point, I think. And again, it was Claire, and Claire, thank you very much in the last session for setting it up so brilliantly about how we need to get in earlier. We need to get into schools. And another hat I wear, but it's all under the same remit, is I'm the UK Director for the Global Travel and Tourism Partnership, which is a charity that introduces young people at school age to the opportunities in travel and tourism around the world. And one of our biggest global partners is here, the Travel Corporation. We have many other big global industries, global players who look after us. And we work all over the world, particularly in countries where economically tourism is really important. So it actually gives young people an opportunity for jobs. But this is not about me, so pardon the pitch, but I just wanted to let you know that that's what we're doing. But it is incumbent upon us all to showcase the range of career paths we have in this amazing sector, as well as highlighting even more so now, this is a secure and safe place for people to come to. Because one more question here, who actually thinks we don't welcome diversity? I know, and that's the frustration, there's a disconnect, isn't there? And I want the people of the future and the future of our generation to reflect the audiences that I see when I go out to schools and universities. So without any further ado, and stop me talking for once, I'd like to introduce our panel. So Hayley, I will start with you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, it's really good to be here. I'm Hayley. I have worked in the travel industry for about 5 years, so about 2.5 years at Thomas Cook, and then most recently 2.5 years at Expedia Group. So currently my role at Expedia is leading global early careers recruitment. So I have worked with a wonderful, wonderful team, and we recruit about 1,000 people every year into Expedia. And that is made up of apprentices, interns, and graduates. So we refer to our team as building the base of the organisation. Our strategy is we hire brilliant young people and we accelerate them through Expedia. And the intention is they are our leaders of the future. I'm also a board member of Expedia's women's network, which is called WELL, Women at Expedia Leading and Learning. And I'm also a co-founder of a very recent non-profit that we've launched called Elevate Her World, which supports women on their career journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley. Amazing. And she's also being very, very demure, but she also was an award-winning, it was Every Woman in Travel, yeah, and actually last year, one of TTG's 30 Under 30, tomorrow's travel leaders, so a deserved accolade. But nipping on your heels, hopefully, are our next two. So, Jaqueline.
Hello, my name is Jaqueline. I'm a recent graduate. I graduated in February 2020, which was great, just before the pandemic, and destroyed my dreams of working in the industry, but I managed to get the opportunity to work in the industry again, and right now I just started recently this month working from MMGY Global as a junior campaign manager, and it's been great. Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll touch on it, but you know, to graduate at the start of a pandemic is not the greatest time, particularly when you want to work in our industry. But Nelma, you next.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Nelma. I just finished my degree in tourism management with a language. I did French with it as well. I don't work in the industry yet, so I'm actually looking for a job. So if anyone is hiring, so if anyone is hiring, please reach out to me. I have my business card, so yeah.
Brilliant. And last but by no means least, Ella.
So I'm Ella. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of the Black Explorer magazine, which is a travel publication that I started literally 2 months into the pandemic, because when's the best time to start a travel magazine? When nobody is traveling, obviously. And it's all about amplifying black voices in travel, because I've worked in travel for quite some time now as well. And my idea and my drive to launch the magazine was both a response of the lack of representation, both in the industry, as well as kind of consumer facing. So yeah, with the Black Explorer, we're trying to like tackle that from two fronts in how the industry represents travelers, but also how, you know, people working in the industry are represented. So yeah.
That's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And I think, you know, it's lovely to have this range of people here to sort of talk about DEI. And I guess, firstly, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions which kind of link, which is, why do you, and I'm going to start with our two younger members of the audience, apologies because you're all so much younger than me, but why is DEI important to you? And do you think, as you come into this industry, that we're getting it right? What can we do more to attract you into the sector? So maybe Jaqueline, I'll start with you.
I'll say that DEI is important to me because this industry, it wouldn't make sense for diversity not to exist. I mean, it's travel. We need to know other cultures and different backgrounds. So we need diversity in travel companies as well, so that we understand like what kind of industry we're in. And I think it's important as well, the representation, because, for example, right now my manager is a Black woman, and so I can see, oh, I can maybe one day be in her position. And that's why it's important for me, and it's important in general for the industry.
That's great. And Nelma, you're just starting that journey of looking. So what are you looking for? What do you want to see when it comes to DEI?
I want to be in a team where I feel comfortable, you know, I feel included, you know, I love working with people, so I really want to be in a diverse team. And like it was said before, it's good to have a diverse team for the business and for the team as well, because we are dealing with so many customers, so it's good to have a diverse team. So my next job, I do want to be in a diverse team, and the first thing that I actually do when I'm doing my job search right now. So the first thing that I do, I do my research. So I go to the company's website and I look at it and I see if it's diverse. If it's not diverse, I don't apply for it. So I really want to be in a diverse team and feel included and feel comfortable and work well in a team.
Yeah. And I mean, Ella, you know, you've done a huge amount in this space because of, I guess, some of the challenges you found when you first started looking for work. So perhaps you could tell us a bit about that.
I think diversity, the conversation around, you know, why diversity is important actually bugs me a bit, because I feel like we're at the stage now where we should all know why it's important. We should all know how much money there is being left on the floor, on the table. Is it on the floor or on the table? On the
table.
Yes.
Hopefully you find it on the floor, but you should put it on the table.
How money is being left on the table because the industry is stuck in its way? Because for me, travel as it is and as it still is right now is very much built from this. It's very colonial in how it was set up, because travel was always this thing of, it's the white man going to explore, you know, in the 1700s, going to explore and then writing in their journal, sending it back home, writing about, you know, the savage lands that they've discovered and stuff like that. So, and that still permeates within the travel industry today. That thing of, we are going out there as the civilized one to discover, to explore, that is still in there. And that messaging, if that is the messaging with which you promote travel and you promote working in travel, of course it's going to alienate people like me, who, to me, when you come to my country of origin and you're looking at, oh, the colonial charm, there was nothing charming about colonialism to me. So you can't attract me by saying, oh, come work for me and sell this product as, you know, let's take a tour to the colonial charming, you know, streets. Do you see what I mean? So there is a lot that needs to be done. People need to look at themselves in the mirror and kind of say, am I stuck in the past? Am I really kind of moving forward as all the things that we are built on? Are they actually leading to the future, or are we kind of stuck in our ways? And unfortunately, even after 2020, even after COVID, after the pandemic, after all of the black squares, I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm very, I don't know.
No, listen.
I'm very sensitive about these things.
And quite rightly so. You deserve to be. And I think we heard a bit earlier about having to be prepared to be uncomfortable, and we need to have these uncomfortable conversations, and we need to face up to it as organisations and as people ourselves. And I speak this as a white woman, but actually in a mixed race marriage, and I have a beautiful black stepdaughter that I want to give the world to. So I share that passion with you and sense her frustration with it. So thank you for that, and thank you for being so honest. And Hayley, turning to you, I mean, we saw the quote from your CEO earlier on stage, and when we know Expedia are doing a huge amount in the DEI space, and perhaps you could share some of the benefits that you're seeing, particularly with your new global role.
Yeah, and I think we've talked a lot today about how travel is for everyone. Travel should be accessible to everyone, and the different reasons that we travel, and now travel's back open again as well. And there's a number of things that have to come together, and there's the analogy of diversity is being invited to the party and inclusion is being asked to dance, and then you can almost take that further to belonging is being able to dance in the way in which you want to dance, and equity is being able to help make some of the decisions that influence the party, like choosing the music. And I think all of those things have to come together for anything to be successful, and to, we use the term turning the dial, but for anything to change. I think to your question earlier, are companies doing enough? I also really love that phrase of being comfortable with discomfort. And I think I would definitely positively challenge anyone who was to say we're doing everything we possibly can, because I think this whole conversation is about continually challenging ourselves, challenging each other, and as an industry, helping each other to move forward. So I think, we've definitely had some initiatives at Expedia which have been really great to see. And I speak on behalf of a 20,000 person organisation, so I know we're a big global company. But I think, some of those things around belonging, we have a really, really incredible network of employee resource groups. So we have 8 global groups, and at just the start of this year, the decision was made to have all of those groups run internally by internal boards. So every employee at Expedia, you can join any group as a member of that community or as an ally, and you're encouraged to. But any employee at Expedia could go up for election to be a board member. So that has meant the 8 global boards made up of employees from all over the company, different roles, different backgrounds, different locations, and those boards come together to set goals. And I think giving employees the voice and the space for people who are passionate about this work. I know one of the things we talked about was it's not just the role of HR, and it's not just the role of an I&D team, it's the responsibility of everybody. Just like at EasyJet with the Trailblazers, we have inclusion champions as well, but giving everyone that space and then showing that the benefit is then for everyone as well.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, obviously we are preaching slightly to the converted in this room, and I think we're all, if we're not in that space ourselves, we're all definitely allies, male, female, non-binary. I think that we talk about this boiling point and everything else, but we have to get to action. We have to stop the rhetoric now, don't we, and actually move forward. And I think it's Grace, and I just want us to stick with that, Hayley, because obviously huge global company. But you can actually, and you do, I know, because you share a lot of this and you provide great case studies, but actually a huge amount of our sector are small businesses. Mm-hmm. So sometimes there's a challenge, isn't there, that how do I put diversity and equity into my business which has only got 10 people in it? How can I lead the way with that? And I've got my own personal opinion, but I'm going to keep that to myself, about what advantages actually as we come out of the pandemic and the changing nature of work can we actually get hold of when we're talking about it from an industry-wide perspective, in changing the look and feel of our workforce and attracting that next generation?
I think there's a lot of things within that. And I think the collaboration is a big one. I think a big factor is always budget. There's always, well, maybe I don't have a huge budget to spend on this type of thing. And the other thing I've heard throughout today, and like my brain is just like buzzing with so many different things that I'd heard today and soaking it all in, but is mindset, and that not being afraid to be curious and ask questions and challenge. So I think the collaboration is really important. I think, there's lots of things out there that don't require a huge budget. There's lots of programs that are available. I actually just recently attended Google have a publicly available program called I Am Remarkable. And anyone can go online and complete that program, become a facilitator. But it's things like that where, if you're thinking in your business, we don't have a suite of training materials. There are things out there that larger companies have put together. And, putting together your own training, volunteer-led. So much of what we do is people who are passionate about it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And Ella, coming back to you, and then I'll come back to our two graduates. What would you say to companies in terms of action points now going forward? What change do you need to see now based on everything that's happened and where we are as we reinvent ourselves, hopefully, coming out of the pandemic?
I think definitely as you're hiring, I don't know how practical it is for different companies, but a good practice, I think, to start doing is maybe kind of blind scoring your candidates when they come in, so that you're not biased by their names, by how they might look like, because some people still send pictures on their CVs and stuff like that. So that's kind of something very basic, I think. But also, where do you publicize your roles? Where do you publicize the vacancies that you have in your companies? There will be some extra work that you will need to do to kind of go into communities, maybe marginalized communities. There's so many groups. If you take the time to spend 5 minutes browsing LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, there are so many groups that we as underrepresented community have created within the travel space to advocate for ourselves. And these are groups that, as if you are in charge of hiring in your company, you could go into and say, we are looking for this position. Is there anybody in here that would want to join, would want to apply? So you can't just put a job where you usually put a position where you usually put it, and then expect different people to come in. You have to make an effort to go and look. And there's things like, women in travel who will have access to a lot of these groups and kind of reach out and say, we are trying to publicize this to a more diverse audience. So that's one side of how to get people in. But then as someone who then comes into a company that hasn't been maybe not as diverse so far, and kind of being afraid of, will I be accepted in this space? Because you don't want to be the guinea pig either. Some people will want to. I'm always happy to be the guinea pig, but I can understand that some people don't want to. They want to come into a space where they know that they will be safe, that they will not have to be, subject to all of the microaggressions and stuff like that. So you need to make it very clear in your process that this is where we're at when it comes to diversity and inclusion. These are the things that we're still missing, and this is what we're doing to fill in the gaps. And this is the dedications that we have to you joining in as maybe the first face or the first few diverse faces in our company, or even the 100 diverse faces in our company. This is where we are at, and make it very clear so that any candidate coming in knows, okay, this company knows themselves. They know, they have taken the time to go through and comb through and then figure out that this is where we can do better. This is where we can, make changes, and actually have put steps into place to action those changes. And then you have to offer support. So much support. Again, it's going to require a lot more work. It's going to require a lot more effort. But what you're going to get out of it is going to be so worth it, because as soon as you move in a space where there's many people from many different walks of life and orientations working together and then firing ideas in a room, there's a magic that happens in that kind of room that you cannot get anywhere else. And you will experience it as soon as you put the effort into making sure that your team is diverse and celebrated. So that's what I would kind of give quickly.
No, that's great. Thanks, Ella. And Nelma, you touched on it when you're looking at companies. You look for the diversity, and I think we all need to be aware of that. We talked about, there's the purple pound, the pink pound, the black pound. All those client groups that we are starting to spend money on in attracting. But actually, it always frustrates me that we spend millions on trying to get clients. We don't spend anything on trying to get people to come and work for us, or certainly a fraction of that. And we need to do more in that space. And I just want to sort of take you back. So when the both of you, and I'll start with you, Nelma, when you were at university, you wanted to study tourism, and I'm guessing you had a very diverse group of people that you were with.
Yeah.
And are you surprised that these conversations are happening in our sector? What did you think? Why did you want to work in tourism? And are you now surprised as you come out? In fact, what you're seeing is potentially the lack of diversity. And I mean, not just as a young black woman, but maybe, with things like, the LGBTQ and the accessible side of it as well.
Mm-hmm. So I decided to study tourism because I feel like I'm a people's person and I always wanted to travel since I was young. I think that I'm not surprised that we are having this conversation. Something that I see a lot as well is that some companies, they market themselves as diverse, but then when I do my research, they are not as diverse as they market themselves to be. So I really like your points, and I think that companies should implement what you said. And yeah.
So you're not surprised? And I think that's a shame, because we should be able to normalise this by now, shouldn't we? We should be able to normalise this whole conversation, and unfortunately we're not. Jaqueline, what about you? So it's okay. So why did you study tourism, and are you surprised that we are still having this conversation around DEI, and why you're not seeing enough of it as you're now going out, and you have been going out looking for a job?
Yes, so I decided to study tourism because well, I had this naive idea that I wanted to help people make people happy by creating travel for them, creating like itineraries. That's what I wanted to do. And even though I was not a people's person, well, I'm not a people's person, I wanted to do that. And like you pointed out before, there's only certain roles that people know when they get into tourism. And so when I started, I wanted just to be a travel agent, and that's all I knew, that, people just be travel agents or something else. And then when I actually started studying, I was like, I can work with DMOs, and I can work with destination management and do more things. And towards the end of my degree, I was like, I can work in marketing for travel and tourism. And this is things that people are not aware. And when I started looking for a job, and when I saw the companies, we see some diversity, but not as much as, again, I expected, and she said as well. And we need, I believe that we need a platform for students and for graduates where you can find all the opportunities, because my main struggle when I was, for example, looking for a placement or a place to internship, is that, like Nelma is doing, having to go to every website, so I had to create a list of all the travel companies and then go to each one of them. While there's other industries that, for example, there's this website called OTA that they do, they put it's a job board just for the tech industry, and it's all there, and we can do the same. We can put everything in one place, and it's just so much easier for people to find these opportunities, and easier to find diverse talents in this way. So this is something that, and so many initiatives that we can take, that we just need more ideas.
Yeah, no, well, thank you very much for that, because, I mentioned, obviously, GTTP and FitU, and that's exactly what we hope to be doing and working. But actually, it's about partnerships, isn't it? It's about collaboration, and that is key at this particular stage, how we can collaborate. And there are some great initiatives out there, and we want to be able to showcase these more effectively. And actually, we've used the word amplify that voice, and that's exactly what we need to do collectively as an industry. So, you know, whatever happens, that's a great suggestion, and thank you, because I'll pay you later, I didn't ask you to say that. So Hayley, I mean, interesting, we've also heard a little bit about the sort of the unconscious bias, and Ella mentioned it earlier, around sort of blind CV testing and everything. But, you know, you work at a global level, you work across different cultures and different continents. Have you changed your recruitment practices to try and eliminate unconscious bias?
So I think there's still a lot more. We're just about to start a global end-to-end view of recruiting, our processes, our systems, our tools. There's a couple of things that we have done. We operate at a large scale. We hire 1,000 people a year in early careers, but we align closely to professional hiring, executive hiring. So it's a large scale operation, and sometimes I think there is a benefit in a smaller business where enforcing change can happen quickly. In a bigger business, you have different types of benefits. One of the things we are implementing this year is actually looking at how we assess students who are coming in, either as interns, apprentices, or graduates. So making sure the assessment process, as Ella mentioned some of the things, is fully inclusive. And someone else mentioned earlier that data is very difficult, but it's not just about hiring diverse talent, it's about attracting diverse talent, making sure that they are getting through our recruitment processes, and even beyond that, how do we even encourage, you know, young people into 90% of our roles in early careers are tech. How do we get, you know, young girls thinking about tech within travel as even a type of role? But one of the things we're going to be bringing in is assessing early careers candidates based on their strengths. So thinking about a strengths-based approach, because a lot of the time traditional processes are often based on experience, and then with experience becomes, you know, bias does creep in, because how can you be expecting students to be, yes, they'll have lots of transferable skills and lots of great things they've done at university, but we want to be able to assess based on potential versus experience, because not everyone would have had the access to the same type of experiences. So that is something that we're looking at. So thinking about the strengths that are important, working with occupational psychologists, what strengths are important to us in early career roles, and then building an immersive assessment that gives back in terms of feedback report, but also helps us look at and assess candidates in a very different way. So we no longer look at what university someone went to or the type of degree specifically that they've studied. So that is something that we're just about to launch next month when we go live with our 2023 campus recruiting. And again, something we want globally, because we want, if someone's applying for a role in London, that the same role in India, they should be going through that same process, and we should be assessing people in a fair way globally. So yeah, that is launching soon, and I'm really excited to see the impact and to hear feedback from candidates that are going through the process. And it's a chance for them to learn about us as a company. It's very immersive, lots of videos, talks about our values. The other thing that we are looking at is how do we offer mentorship through the recruitment process? So how can we support candidates as they go through the process? And how do we do that at scale when we get thousands of applications? So one of the ways is through the feedback report that everybody will get. They'll get a personalised view of what their strengths are and how they might apply them. The other thing we do in terms of mentorship is offer drop-in sessions with our recruiters. So at any point during the process, almost like an office hours type session, candidates can sign up through a link, attend a weekly Zoom session with one of our recruiters based in their region, and just come and learn more. And we also do interview prep as well, just to try and make sure everybody's coming into the interview process with as much advice and insight onto what to expect as we can possibly give them.
I absolutely love that, and I couldn't agree with you more. And my huge frustration all the time, because I do speak to an awful lot of young people, be they school leavers, you know, FE and HE, is they go for these jobs, they go through the process, and then they're told they can't get the job because they don't have the experience. And you're thinking, this is ridiculous, because then I have employers coming to me saying, we want more young people in our business. And I'm like, ugh, you know, it's so frustrating. So, you know, we have to, as you say, completely change the dialogue when it comes to that. And I urge everybody to think about that, because, you know, we heard it in the last session, you know, we recruit for attitude, we train for skills. You know, we've all started somewhere. We've got to give them that chance. And it's great, you know, it's great to hear all these really important things. And just moving on very quickly, and I'm not quite sure because we haven't had the timer going, so I'm probably running over, and I do apologise. I'll be keeping an eye. If you could just let me know how much time we've got left. So everybody here agrees that it's the people that make a great company. be they startups, be they huge multinationals. So how should we, and I think this is, we haven't discussed this, but in terms of development of people in the company, what should we be doing to increase engagement once they're in the business? We talk about attracting them, we get them in the business. How do we increase engagement and hopefully increase retention as a result of that? So I'm going to start with Ellen, and we'll go down the line again.
So I think that nurturing part, once you're inside an organization, is very important. You have to create a space where people feel confident to be themselves. Because me, for example, I'm at the intersection of neurodiversity and, physical diversity as well. So I kind of come in with a mixed bag of, I have ADHD, and the way that I need to work and the things that I need special, what's the word I'm looking for? Accommodations, thank you very much. In my day, but then coming into a company where I can feel confident saying, this is all of me, this is where I'm hoping to go, and then feeling that there is a framework in place to support me, to provide me with because sometimes I need extra support to get sometimes just everyday things done. That happen. But other times I can smash through 3 days of work in one day. It doesn't make sense. But having a company that recognizes that there is a strength in that as well and kind of adapts to that is very important. So you want to be in a space and you want to create a space where people feel confident and safe expressing themselves and being their true self. And then when they are confident, when they are safe, when they feel welcome, when they feel, and this is going to sound very mushy, but when they feel loved, because we forget that there has to be an amount of love in also the work that you're doing for it not to feel like, oh, this is just a job and I need to get out of this. You need to foster this community space of loving community where somebody feels like, okay, now I want to actually move through the ranks here. Let's go for it and let's do it. So it's, create a loving space. And create a space where people want to stick around because they feel happy coming into work and they feel happy coming into, working with you, and then knowing that, okay, I am supported in all the ways that I am, and I want to be going through, and I want to continue through this.
Brilliant, thank you. Nelma, what are you looking for from your future employer, who hopefully is in this room?
I hope. I want to be in a company where I can develop personally and professionally. And I really like your point, once again. The fact that you said that we need to make sure that our team feels loved and safe before we move on to the next step of, training them to move into higher positions. So I think that we need to build the ground first before we move on to the next step. So that's what I think.
That's great, thank you. And Jaqueline, you just started. You mentioned earlier about the fact that your manager is black, so it was comforting to see that. But what else are you looking for from your new employer?
I'm looking for, again, like everyone mentioned, a space where I can just be myself. And there's some other companies that I felt like I couldn't be myself, or I just had to be another version of me. And in this company, I feel supported by everyone in my team and by my managers and even the directors as well. One thing that made me work for this company was that even though the interview process was a bit long, at every step, everyone said, you can move around if you don't feel like the role is right for you. And I was like, oh, that's great, because I don't want to feel like, oh, this role is not right for me, and now the skills don't match the role and don't match the company at all, so I have to move. And sometimes I feel that I have some, I'd say, not some, but some, not complications, but, some challenges and signs, for example, from you mentioned ADHD, and I see it all the time when I'm working, and I have to work with it, and you have to be comfortable saying that to the person that you're working with, your manager, and say, I'm struggling with this, and can you help me? And sometimes you're not comfortable with that. And at our company, one of the first things that I did actually was a training on unconscious bias, and I've never done that. So that was, again, a really good sign. And just on this Tuesday, we had a global meeting, I would say, where our director, the global director, the HR director, she's also a black woman, so it makes me look even more up to the company. She touched on diversity, was about diversity, which really good to have this meeting before coming here. And they spoke about what's happening in America with all these abortion issues, and also how can we do beyond like the LGBT community, or where can we do beyond like just the month of June and everything else. So these are all good signs that all the companies can implement, even if you're a really small company. And yes, that's really
That's great. I was going to come to you, Hayley, but I know that Expedia do a huge amount. You mentioned your employee support groups as well, and we have completely run out of time now, and I'm having people doing this at me everywhere. So, I mean, listen, you know, you're all completely amazing, and you know, this is what we want in our industry, isn't it? Thank you. So I know that they'll all be around at the tea break, and obviously I did tell Nelma to bring some contact cards with her as well, so do come and talk to her about that. But thanks very much, everybody, and thanks again to my fantastic panel.